episode where, what was the scene where Chiana was like the rat crying and all that stuff, and the scene in the bathroom where she's... Constellation of Doubt. Constellation of Doubt, thank you. So, and it was so appropriate because it was like, the episode was all about saying who is the real alien here? Is it humans, the way that they treated us, you know? And it was so good because Crichton always got to make the schmarmy Earth remarks, and finally it was our turn to have a go at Earthlings, so that was heaps of fun. But Brian came to the lunch and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've got something to tell you. It's not going to go to season 5." And everyone was just devastated. There were grips the size like this, bawling, crying. People were calling their loved ones, and it was horrific. It's so sad. So, and I don't know if you guys understand, but this really was a reunion for us. A lot of us haven't seen each other even since then. So it's been a very special, amazing weekend, and to sit next to Brian and Rodney and them going, "We're not done with Farscape." I'm trying to keep my dream together, but I'm like, so many more stories to tell.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because Peacekeeper Wars you guys get credit for Peacekeeper Wars, right? That was one of those shows that fans came back and said, "We're not done with this." And it's a slower, now if a show gets canceled, there's a Twitter campaign, and like in 6 months or 3 weeks, someone will say, "I'm going to pick this up on a streaming network." And that wasn't the deal, 15 years ago. And, I think that, first of all, give yourselves a round of applause if you're part of that campaign, because that resulted in a way to get some closure in the story. But it's also, I think, what kicked off a lot of the original discussion was the idea that now that it's back on Prime, people are seeing the numbers, are seeing the interest, and it does bring back the possibility, that there may be a continuation, which I think is really exciting.
And how good is it that, like, this weekend alone, with so many new fans and kids coming up and, "Oh, I love Farscape." I'm like, "How have you even seen it? You weren't even a fetus." Like, what the hell? So it says something that's still 20 years on. It's getting all these new fans involved as well, so it's pretty special.
Some of them are fetus.
There's at least 2 that John's responsible for. Let's grab our next question.
My question is for Gigi. So I really liked the Nabari and the little glimpses we got a few times into the culture and the politics. So I was wondering if either there was stuff you were told about them, behind the scenes that didn't make it into the show, or maybe just personal pet theories you had. Basically, just tell me something about Nabari.
What was that last one?
Basically, just tell me something about the Nabari.
I love Chiana. I love her. I'm so obsessed. Like, as a little girl, Dark Crystal was like beyond obsessed. I wasn't very good talking to people. I was always, and I still do, don't tell anyone, some fairies and spirits and unicorns and mermaids and all that stuff. I feel like all our worlds are intermingled. So and my mum was a crazy hippie. We got brought up half our lives on a hippie commune. She would wake me up in the middle of the night and she'd go, "Let's go look for the alien vortex." And I go, "Okay, Mum." So it's all, it was like this weird, universal, like manifestation that I felt like I've almost already lived. It's quite magical to me. So literally when I saw the Henson logo on the audition thing, I was like, "Holy crap, this is amazing." And I didn't know how to play her. I did little weird alien things, but it looks odd if you're human. And then when the makeup test, that's when you know. And they were so pedantic, like almost all day you had people gossiping with you, and you just get used to it, like monkeys, you're talking or eating or whatever, and they're sticking or something on, or putting a lens in, or fixing your thing. Or when I went to the new show, it was like a 45-minute makeup, and you don't get touched all day. I was like, "Huh?" So to create a character from scratch, like, I love all the creatures in the Dark Crystal, and they're just so whimsical and they're so out there, but they're totally believable. So that's why I wanted to make her interesting and weird and unique.
Can I ask a supplementary question to that on the same thing? I think in that episode, and it's about to be incredibly wrong, but it's one of my favourite Australian actors called Tyriel Moyle. And so Tyriel and you came on at the same time. So Tyriel is the bomb. I mean, this guy's just such a great and well-respected Australian actor. So when you've got that much sort of firepower, because he's more experienced than we are, do you know what I mean? So like what was the conversation like with Tyriel? How much impact did he have? Did he make much
They'd already
contribution?
been mind cleansed too, so
Right.
the reason that Gianna was a bit out there, to say the least, is because she hadn't been tamed yet. She hadn't had her brain, you know, melted into normal stuff. So he was just, took the very first time that I put all the costume on, and I remember coming on for that makeup test, and I heard Crichton, you know, running down the hall, because they were already shooting the episode, and I still hadn't gone into it, and he goes, Gianna's on the loose, that scene. I was like, holy crap. They're actually shooting it right now, and they still haven't cast a girl, because up until that final makeup test, they said, are you ready for tomorrow? And I'm like, what's tomorrow? Is it another, you know, test, audition? And they went, well, you shooting the episode. I was like, oh, I got the job? That's what it was like, wasn't it? It was very wild, very wild. And Ant and I were speaking yesterday, going, that set, we pushed each other to the limits, and I think you can read that. It was, to me, it was like just a big, crazy, screwed up family trying to do the best they can with the knowledge that they had lost in the uncharted territories. And that was pretty much just how we were, and we had something channeled into it.
And the desire for it not to be like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
If something already existed, it wasn't a criticism of it, it was just a desire to not do that again.
Oh, let's take another question up front.
So Anthony, you actually mentioned about how you were viewing it in a different perspective from like you're seeing it as yourself or like darker. So what about with the scenes that were really head trippy out there, like when it was Looney Tunes, or like Gigi, where you were like in that sort of fantasy VR world and things like that? How do you view those scenes now? And with the revival, hopefully when the revival comes, what more kind of scenes would you like to see like those?
We spoke on one of the panels, sorry, this is our fourth panel, so excuse me, I can't remember which day it was. But we spoke about taking risks, doing things, but we also were speaking about not all those risks paying off. You know, and some of them work, some of them didn't. I think it's naive to suggest that every frame, when you're being brave, my humble view is that if you think every frame is great of your TV show, then you haven't been brave. Because you've got to do stuff that you think, oh man, we can do that, and oh shit, it was so out there, it actually didn't work. So those episodes you mentioned, Looney Tunes, I think they were that was a great episode, and I love doing that. And even though they're very, very out there, you're still in the perspective of your character. Even if it's Looney Tunes, you're still there fighting, chasing, you know, like the Roadrunner, chasing them through Crichton and things like that. But I think some of the, and people disagree with me, and my fellow castmates disagree with me, but I think at times when we failed, we mistook zaniness for creativity. So I actually think some of the zaniest stuff we did is actually some of the least successful stuff that we did. Not all of it, some of the zany stuff is some of my favourite stuff, but also some of the zany stuff is some of my least favourite stuff. And for me, regardless of whether it worked or whether it didn't, you're never going to be able to sustain that zany stuff unless you get a real sense that these characters are connecting. Connecting through the realistic, heartfelt drama, connecting through the crazy zany stuff. The spine has to be the emotional truth and the connection between the characters. So what would I like the future to be for these characters? So for each and every one of those Vestal virgins, Logan's got a connection.
I think you've got definitely a spine running through the conversation today as well. That's actually something that I was talking with Crispy, who I believe was on one of your panels a couple days ago, and we were discussing the rewatch. We both went back. Crispy's a media consumer, like he is insane amount of time into watching. I've been moving to another part of the country, so I haven't had as much time to catch up. But I preloaded the tablet with a bunch of season 1 I've been watching on flights. And remembering the emotional connection you have to get, building that spine, the idea that both of your characters start in completely different places than where they end. And in a sense, you both have to build the connection that makes the rest of the series go forward. And Chris was saying that when he was rewatching it, his friends would say, yeah, you can probably skip season 1 and go to 2 because the pacing changes. And like the pacing is more interesting to some people in 2. And I'm both like, but then you don't understand what his crew is together. Like you miss the idea. It's like kind of say, well, let's just go watch Captain America Civil War and not watch the Avengers and understand why there's an interaction with these people, why they end up in the room. So the fact that anytime in season 1, the stakes are the crew could just go their own way. Like it's, well, I'm gonna get off the boat this episode, I'm gonna get off the boat this episode, I'm just gonna go be the farmer on this planet. And maybe the rest of this is like an Amish in space kind of thing, and then no, we're all back on the boat. So I think you've done a really good job of like keeping that spine in there. But do you think that because that was built, that allowed the show producers to take more risks later on? They felt that we've got this connection established so well, we can go off and try this thing? Or was that the main reason why they could like push so hard?
Well, I think at every point, yeah, because Ben, Claude and I were in every ep, and I think at every time we were always trying to make the emotional connection work regardless of how crazy the circumstance was. We did know that without that, it was going to fall flat on its face. Because you see, in lots of genre television, they have this zaniac, that zaniac, whatever, and it just seems to be shtick that you put on top of things. And it returns to something that I was mentioning in another panel the other day. The shtick, the zaniness, every scene has to support Crichton's journey. So it's just got to support Crichton's journey. So regardless of the storytelling style, what it's going, if it advances a deeper understanding of Crichton, then you've done your job. Doesn't mean our characters aren't important. And it doesn't mean that, but it is Crichton. You are the POV of that show. It's not Aaron, it's not Dargo, it's not Chiana, it's not Raider, it's not Scorpius, it's Crichton. So we have to make sure that everything is supporting Crichton's journey. I think everyone understood that explicitly or implicitly. And like Ben said, we're all collectively responsible for Crichton's journey, not just Ben. And then that supports the overarching storytelling. And you see how difficult that is. You see how difficult it is, moving from the Skywalkers into a different thing for Star Wars. And I'm not going to make any comments about it. So it's difficult, right? It's difficult to change that protagonist in the eyes of an audience. So yeah, we had good eps, bad eps, and average eps, but we always had the right intention in place.
I got really done over by, because originally Chiana was meant to be one episode, and I felt really strong in Joker Returns. Like people go watch the family episode, that sounds bad, but I almost like that's my favourite because I didn't know any better. I was just an alien. I didn't know you guys. Everything was. I was terrified. I'm like, this is perfect for Chiana because putting on this ridiculously brave face, but I'm absolutely unraveled on the inside. Because any second now I'm going to get brain cleansed and all this jazz. And then it's funny because when it was like day 3 of shooting, I got taken up to the Australian producer, Matt Carroll's office, and he goes, we love what you're doing, but we don't want her to be American anymore. We want her to be Australian. And I was like, what? I've done like a month of auditions and 3-day shooting, and like this character, I know this character, and she's kind of gonna have this, that's her. That was sexy to me, and that was Chiana to me, and I got really put through the washer about that. And I went home burst of tears, like, they hate me, and oh my God, and I don't understand, I didn't know you could dub over, so I was like, half of Chiana's going to be American, and half is going to be Australian, which it ended up being for the whole season bloody one anyway. And that, stuff like that, it's so tricky because it's a bigger picture and it's a bigger story, it doesn't have, you're right, it's about supporting Ben and everything, but if you're not comfortable in your skin playing your character, it's like you lose your footing, and but then they asked me back for another episode, and I was like, what is going on here? And I think what was happening, I was in the makeup show that day when I practicing the lines in Australian, and Ben's like, what are you doing? You're changing your accent. I'm like, well, the Australian producer wants me to do it with an Australian accent. It goes, I'm sure about that. And so there's lots of cooks in the kitchen too. So anyway, so I went back and forth a lot that day and ended up doing the whole season 1 Chiana Australian, and it kills me to watch it. I just hate it because you guys must be like, what is going on? So then when we moved to the next season, and when we want Chiana to be American again, we're going to go and dub over all your really Australian sounding lines, all of them, but just the ones we really think. So she's got this weird accent, back and forward accent. I'm like, oh, this is a disaster. And I said down to Krause and said, can you put a note in the credits like, Gigi did not know, like, shut up and just bloody act. From season 2, that's when I started getting in the groove. I saw the opening credits, I'm like, how many opening credits? They must like me. I must be in now, because of all of season 1, no one ever told me that she was sticking around. They just kept delivering scripts, so I started to call her like, script.
So it's like Uber, but for acting. You're like, I guess I got a gig today.
So, and then by season 2, I was getting in my groove, and as soon as you feel confident, you start something nice and energy on set.
I just want to add something from the bad guy's perspective, that being in this show as a bad guy, you may have many minions, but you're always an individual, even though, Scorpion and Grace were together, they were never a team. And there was this extraordinary thing. I acknowledge what Anthony's saying, but from my perspective, the family was the unbreakable thing. I could probably have got Crichton, but I couldn't get that family. I couldn't destroy that family. I could destroy any, narratively. So from the inside, completely subjectively, not objectively. I could have broken one individual, but I couldn't break the family. And looking at them as a group of individuals, they're pretty screwed up. Deeply flawed. And, if you look at the good things versus the bad things they did, fitty. but what made them different to us, and we thought we were the good guys, we called ourselves peacekeepers. We are the people that keep the peace. We have to kill all the very unpeaceful people to do that. But the thing that is indestructible about this group of people were that they loved each other. Through all the crazy, through all the dysfunction, through all the very, very, very significant dodginess, they loved each other, and narratively that was impossible to break, but I'd like to give it a try.